What you're looking at right here, frankly, is El Paso. It's a prayer circle right next to the memorial, right next to the Walmart where 22 people were murdered the other day. But this is the community coming together. This is the city coming together, trying to heal, trying to move forward. They've been here for about 15, 20 minutes, and it is deeply, deeply moving. I want to bring in now presidential candidate Marianne Williamson. She was the most searched candidate after the second debate right here on CNN. Marianne, thank you so much for being with us. I have to say, it's great to have you with what's going on behind me in this prayer circle, because what the people behind me are doing, they're trying to do something that you speak to, which is to use love to move past this. What do you make of this?
What I make of it is that we always go there once a tragedy has already happened. After a tragedy has happened, we're all into giving ourselves permission to talk about love, to talk about peace, to talk about healing. We need to make that the conversation we have more often. You know, violence is the absence of peace. And I think that this is a time for us as a society to ask ourselves some very deep questions about what we want. It's obviously a multidimensional problem we have on our hand. Guns is very much a part of it. White nationalism is very much a part of it. Some of the answers are public, some of the answers are private, some of the answers have to do with policy, and some of the answers have to do with our own hearts. But we have to have a deeper question about what has happened in our society. Why are we so violent? And part of the problem is that we have, over the last few decades, we have acquiesced to such an amoral worldview, an amoral economics, a government that has been corrupted by an amoral economics. It has even corrupted our value system. And where there is amorality, there will always be immoral consequences. So I believe every act of forgiveness, every personal reaching out to anyone, but also recognizing that our government could do so much more with public policy to serve love rather than crass economics. And when it comes to guns, we need to realize this is all about the fact that our government has given advocacy for short-term profits to gun manufacturers. More attention, more focus, and more resource than advocacy for our safety, our health, our well-being, and this needs to stop now.
You have specific policy proposals to stop gun violence. What are the highlights?
My gun proposals have to do with very similar to other Democratic candidates. We need universal background checks. We need to outlaw bump stocks. We need to close the loopholes, the boyfriend loopholes, the gun show loopholes, and we have got to renew the assault weapon ban. Even when we renew the assault weapon ban, though, there will be millions on the street, so we're going to have to outlaw the manufacture of the bullets that are used to shoot with them. That's what we're going to have to do.
Are you concerned? There's a lot of focus on mental illness, and the red flag laws that they're talking about now identify potential threats to people who are threats to themselves and others, and perhaps take their guns away through due process through a judge. But are you concerned there might be a stigma being placed with all this discussion on mental illness?
I'm not concerned about a stigma necessarily, but as your previous guests were talking about with the red flag law, you know, who's going to make that decision of what's considered a red flag? Now, remember, under the Obama presidency, Obama had already put in place an order not allowing mentally ill people and criminally and violently insane people to have access to guns. And really, the first official act, I think, of the Trump administration was to overturn that. So we need more mental health services. We need all of the things that will enable people to live more peaceful lives to begin with. But once we know that people have demonstrated any kind of violent behavior or concern, yes, we do need to outlaw their access. But when it comes to the red flag, what your previous guests were saying, you know, all of this is problematical, isn't it? All of it, anytime there's a benefit, there's a risk of an overreach. But we simply must do now what can be done.
Again, you speak a lot about love, a lot about healing. There are protests today greeting the president here in El Paso. There will be protests, no doubt, in Dayton, Ohio, when he is there as well. Does the love you speak about from you extend to the president?
Well, absolutely, it does on a universal level. But as Martin Luther King said, God said I have to love my enemies. He didn't say I have to like them. And also in terms of the protests of the president, sometimes love says no Love is not sentimental and weak and anemic. Love is powerful. Love is strength. And sometimes, just like we know with our children, sometimes it's because we love a child that we say no. Our president is not a king. Part of the core of American freedom is that we get to protest. That's a constitutional right. It is a core value. And it is time for us to say not only no to this president, but we need to say no to every elected official who does more to serve the NRA and the short-term profits of gun manufacturers than to serve us. It is time now for the American people to wake up. That's what has to happen now. It's time for the people to step in.
We get about 45 seconds left. You talked about on the debate stage your plan for reparations over slavery. You're rolling out more specifics on that today. Very quickly, can you tell us what they are?
I want a reparations council made up of 30 to 50 people who themselves are descendants of American slaves. They come from culture, they come from academia, they come from politics. They are people who have a background of deep understanding and research on this topic. I have proposed $200 to $500 billion to be dispersed over a period of 20 years. It would be this reparations council that decides how is the money dispersed within the context of the stipulation on the part of the U.S. government that the money is to be used for economic and educational renewal. The reason I feel strongly about reparations as opposed to race-based policies is that race-based policies leaves open the question of whose fault it is that this economic gap exists. With reparations, there is an inherent mea culpa. It is an acknowledgement of a wrong that has been done, a debt that is owed, and the willingness of a nation to pay it.
Marianne Williamson, again, thank you for being with us this morning. I will only note that the prayers continue behind me here in El Paso.
I think all of America is praying.
President Trump. President Trump.